Hey, Shalom, Markins, Rakam Akapash from Jim, and London, giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Chakwadash. Want to give double honors unto the elders, the apostles of GMS, and Shalom out there to the hopeful elect, pushing the truth in all sincerity. Back again with another video, and this lesson could be centered around Amos 9, okay, going into, the fact that, no matter what, it's lucky, 1 second, I'm about to sneeze. No, right. No matter what these elites or people do, right, they can't escape the judgment of the Lord, right? So we got the elites that they're preparing themselves underground bunkers and bases and all this kind of stuff, right? Hoarding up seeds and rations and that kind of stuff to help them survive. Judgment, doomsday, as they call it, right? That they can survive it for a long duration or whatever, right? So you got that on the high end level, on the elite level, them getting themselves these different spots to, endure that judgment. And then you got, on the lower level with these guys that think they're in the know, right? With these, doomsday preppers, doing the same thing, just, less lavishly, right? With less resources, right? But they stocking up food and water and all this kind of stuff, getting prepared to live off the grid and, doing all these sorts of stuff, right? But ultimately, no one can escape the judgment of the Lord, right? The judgment of the Lord is going to affect everybody, no matter what your plans are. No matter what you think is going to happen, how you're going to feel, how you're going to weather it. The Lord's judgment is going to reach everybody, right? And the judgment might mean different things for different people. Whoever the Lord, whatever judgment the Lord's got for specific individuals, right? But you're going to be affected by it, right? Whether that means you get put to death or you starved, whatever it is the Most High wants you to go through, you're going to go through, right? Because out of the nations, any survivors of the judgment, because it ain't just about the fire that's going to come upon America and the judgment and destruction that's going to come upon the world, but there's going to be survivors out of that. Yeah, sure, not out of America, of course, but those that are left from the Lord's judgment, because there's going to be a multitude of things going on the earth, right? Right, they're going to be saved for slavery, and so that is not you surviving, because you're going to get slapped up with chains, right? You're being preserved just to be, be bound up, all right? So, there's no way getting around the judgment of the Lord, because again, that is also part of those people's judgments, to be bound up, all right? So yeah, there's no way to escape the Lord's judgment. The only people that are going to survive the Lord's judgment ultimately, and ultimately is the Lord's elect, right? They're going to be delivered from the Lord's judgment. Okay, ultimately, okay, that's going to end this world, right? Because we're not, we're going to be taken into the new world and established under Yahweh Shai. So let's just get into it, right? And so, I'm going to start from the top. Amos 9 verse 1 says, I saw the Lord stand upon the altar, and he said, smite the lintel of the door, that the posts may shake, and cut them in the head, all of them, and I will slay the last of them with the sword. He that fleeth of them shall not flee away, and he that escapeth of them shall not be delivered. Though they dig into hell, thence shall my hand take them. Right? So I mentioned, the underground bunkers and, even these preppers, they're building underground bases or under the houses or whatever. Right? This does not make you safe. Just because things are happening above ground does not mean that the Most High can't get you below ground. Right? So, most doomsday preppers, let's start speaking with them, right? Most of them think, there's going to be some, nuclear warfare or some pestilence or something that's going to, affect those above ground. And so they think going below ground is going to be the safest space to be in. As long as they've got enough rations, they can wait it out and, wait till it dies down and that. But I tell you what, America's going to become a lake of fire. There is no amount of time that you're going to be that you're going to be able to live down there under the earth while there's the molten rock and lava, brimstone above your head. Right? That's just simply not going to happen. Right? You don't know the extent of America's destruction. You think you got a couple of nuclear weapons landing on America. There's much more than that that's going to be happening in America, in terms of its destruction, right? And you're simply just not going to survive it. Okay, whether you're above ground, whether you're below ground, whatever. All right, you're going to get smoked. You're going to get boiled alive, whatever. You're going to get crushed. There's a whole, earthquake. There's going to be all kinds of things going on in America, man. Earthquake, tectonic shifts. You think you're safe in your underground bunker. It can withstand this amount of pressure and whatever, man. You're gonna die one way or another. Okay, you're not surviving. All right. So yeah, though they dig into hell, thence shall my hand take them. Though they come up to the heaven, thence will I bring them down. Right. So you got money, you got power, influence, whatever. Right. Some of you elites thinking, we'll go up in space, we'll survive out there. Don't think the angels of the Lord can't get you out there, because the angels of the Lord can get you from anywhere. All right, and you'll drag your ass back down to earth. All right. So yeah, just because you think you're not even on the planet, because they think if we're not on the planet, we can't we can't suffer the devastation that's happening on the earth. That's not going to work either. All right, Moses is going to drag your ass down. All right, verse 3: and though they hide themselves in the top of Carmel, I will search and take them out of thence. And though they be hid from my sight in the bottom of the sea, right? So you got those DUMBs, deep underground military bases. You got bases inside mountains and all these kinds of things, right? Deep inside. So they figure that, we're safe in here, right? Again, that's just not going to be the case, right? And in the sea, well, yeah, the seas are vast, right? It's deep, right? We can build bases down there, and the nukes won't touch us. Hey, these are all good, rational, carnal ideas, right? For the common carnal man, these are good ideas. They sound, plausible, right? It's what you expect from mankind trying to survive. They come up with these types of ideas, right? But this is not conventional. You're not running from conventional, from conventional means, right? What you're hiding from is the judgment of the Lord, which is omnipresent, right? Which is everywhere. The Lord can see everywhere, be everywhere, can do everything and anything at any time, right? So you're not running from just a plague or a nuke no, you're running from the Lord, which you cannot do. You cannot hide from the Lord. You cannot run from the Lord. The Lord will give you the space to run. He will lead you to the place you're supposed to be. It's one of those impossible things that you're trying to achieve and do, or you can't simply do these things, right? You can't run or hide from the Lord's judgment. All right. So it says, though they be hid from my sight in the bottom of the sea, thence will I command the serpent that he shall bite them. Okay, Leviathan's out there lurking, right? And though they go into captivity before their enemies, thence will I command the sword, and it shall slay them, and I will set my eyes upon them for evil and not for good. All right, and the Lord of hosts, Yahweh, is he that toucheth the land, and it shall melt, and all that dwell therein shall mourn, and it shall rise up wholly like a flood, and shall be drowned as by the flood of Egypt. Right, so when the Lord comes with his judgment, it's going to be overflowing, it's going to be, overpowering. Right, it's going to inundate you, right? And you're just simply not going to be able to do nothing about it on the lands of America. That's why everyone in America that is there when the judgment arrives is going to be destroyed, aside from the elect that are going to be delivered up into the chariots. Okay? Via Yahweh Shai and the angels. Okay? And like I said, you got on top of that, the angels, blazing fire on the land of America. And like I said, you got so much other stuff going on, volcanoes and all, eruptions, earthquake, all that is going to be going on in the land of America. This is going to be no safe space in America. But like I said, the angels are going to be around the whole world causing destruction, right? So everybody, you might think you can just run to another country and, because people are thinking, if we're not in America, we can escape the judgment. Again, reasonable idea, right? Reasonable idea. But the Lord's judgment isn't just going to be on America. America's just going to get the worst of it. right? But the whole world is going to be judged. All the heathen, all the lands are going to be judged, right? And so wherever you are is where your judgment's going to be. Basically, wherever you are is where your judgment's going to be, right? Whether it be in the cities, whether it be in the field, you know what I mean? Whether it be in the forest, it don't matter. If the Lord's got a particular judgment for you, you are going to receive that judgment no matter where you are on the planet. All right, and that's the scary thing, because you're not untouchable. The Most High can touch you anywhere He wanna on the planet. All right. See. All right. So we go from there to Joel chapter 2, verse 11. Pardon me. Right, it says here, the Lord shall utter His voice before His army, right? And His army that He's talking about specifically here is the nuclear weapons that are going to be shot across the world to land on the land of America, you know, to destroy it utterly. So for His camp is very great, for He is strong that executeth His word. For the day of the Lord is great and very, very terrible, right? Who can abide it? And the answer is, ain't nobody can abide the day of the Lord's judgment. All right, so thinking that you can run and hide from these things is very, proud and hubris, right? The Most High is going to expose everybody. Okay. Habakkuk chapter 3, verse 5, it says this. It says, before Him went the pestilence, and the burning coals went forth at His feet. He stood and measured the earth, right? He beheld and drove asunder the nations, and the everlasting mountains were scattered. The perpetual hills did bow, His ways are everlasting, right? I saw the tents of Cushan in affliction, and the curtains of the land of Midian did tremble. Was the Lord displeased against the rivers, right? And this is the thing, the Lord's anger, His indignation is going to be so raw, so terrible, that it's going to affect everything, right? Even things that are not necessarily involved, you know what I mean? Like, it's like the Lord lashing out, and everything in His path is getting hit. It says, was the Lord displeased? It's like, yeah, was the Lord displeased against the rivers, right? Because the Lord going to dry up some rivers, man. The Lord be doing that right now. Some of these rivers are disappearing. All right. Well, yeah. When the judgment starts going off, man, the rivers are not exempt. The Lord, the rivers are gonna become collateral. Right. But was the Lord angry at them? No, the Lord ain't angry about the rivers. but they were there. They were in they were in the path. Right. It's like these motherfucking these small hats right now. Things are just in the way, so we're just gonna blow everything up. Civilians and combatants alike. All right. Was the Lord displeased against the rivers? Was thine anger against the rivers? Was thy wrath against the sea? No, the Lord's anger is at the heathen. Right, beginning with Esau. Right, that's where His anger is. But like I said, these things are going to become collateral in that, whilst destroying them and their land. So did thou didst ride upon thine horses and thy chariots of salvation, right? The angels of the Lord, right? Thy bow was made quite naked, according to the oaths of the tribes, even thy words aloud. Thou didst cleave the earth with rivers. The mountains saw thee, and they trembled. The overflowing of the water passed by. The deep uttered his voice and lifted up his hand on high. The sun and moon stood still in their habitation. At the light of thine arrows they went, and at the shine of thy glittering spear. Thou didst march through the land in indignation. Thou didst thresh the heathen in anger. All right, so like I said, it's like the Lord just lashing out, and everything that's on the way to what the Most High want to get to, which is you nations, okay, is going to suffer it before the Lord. All right, so like I say, it don't really matter where you are on the earth, right? Because the Lord's going to make sure that everywhere where everything needs to be judged is going to be judged. There's not going to be one person that's going to escape judgment. All right. It says, thy witness forth for the salvation of thy people, right? Because we keep telling you that the salvation is for the Israelites, the elect of Israel, right? Who are his people, even for salvation with thy anointed, right? The elect. Thou woundest the head out of the house of the wicked by discovering the foundation unto the next Salah. Thou didst strike through with his stays the head of his villages. They came out as a whirlwind to scatter me. Their rejoicing was as to devour the poor secretly. Let's see. All right, that's what I want. It's Revelation chapter 6, verse 15. Let me read up a little bit. Verse 13, right? And the stars of heaven fell unto the earth, even as a fig tree casteth her untimely figs when she shaketh a mighty wind, right? Because these thermonuclear weapons, man, especially these ICBMs, right? They're gonna come and fall down upon America, right? Just like these figs, right? They're gonna fall and land, okay? So and then and the stars of heaven fell unto the earth, even as a fig tree casteth her untimely figs when she is shaken of a mighty wind, right? And you can kind of link that with the angels holding back the four winds, man, because that's all that is. The angels holding back the destruction, right? When the angels let loose that wind, man, these figs, i.e. these ICBMs and that, they're going to be let loose, right? And the verse 14, and the heaven departed as a scroll when it is rolled together, right? And that's that, the nuclear blast, that mushroom cloud. And every mountain and island were moved out of their places, right? So does it matter? Does it matter if you're in the mountains, embedded in the mountains? No, it don't, because these things are going to get affected too, man. Like I said, whether it's a nuke or whether it's an angel coming to grab your ass up, you ain't safe there. None of you people are safe, no matter where you are, right? Every mountain and island were moved out of their places, and the kings of the earth, and the great men, and the rich men, and the chief captains, and the mighty men, and every bondman, and every free man hid themselves in the dens and in the rocks of the mountains, right? Because these people are going to try and hide. Okay? Like, that's why they do these drills, right? Back in the Cold War, they was all being trained to, go to certain places or have bunkers under the gardens and all that kind of stuff. Right, these elites and these rich and powerful, they've been building bunkers and all kinds of things and prepping, right? And like I said, that's kind of trickled on down to some of these average citizens that believe in the destruction, basically, or some great event that's going to happen, right? And so they're also prepping themselves, so they're going to try and hide, thinking that they try and they're going to survive the whatever comes their way, because these probably they're prepared for everything. Right? But they're going to believe or think that if they do these things that they're going to survive, and so they can, I don't know, continue living to some degree, right? But things are not going to work out how you see in these movies that they make, because you always see in like a post-apocalyptic America that there's there's survivors and there's remnants of people doing things and doing craziness and just trying to survive and that. But that's not even going to happen. You're not even going to get the opportunity to do all that, man, because as I said, you're going into slavery. There ain't going to be no post-apocalyptic America, because America's going to be gone. And that really applies to all these different nations. There's not going to be no post-apocalyptic anything. You're going to go into slavery. There ain't going to be no type of civilization afterwards, for as you know it. Right? All you people that are left over going into slavery, going in chains. Okay, to serve Yahweh Shai and the Israelites. Right? And again, that's not something that's ever depicted in any of these movies, right? So that idea of like, oh, we can survive, a terrible event, and we can kind of continue, try and rebuild and all this kind of stuff. That's not going to happen. You're not going to have the opportunity to rebuild. You're going to be you're going to be doing a lot of building, but you won't be rebuilding your countries, man. Okay, you're going to be rebuilding Israel. All right. Verse 16 says, and said to the mountains and rocks, fall on us and hide us from the face of him that sitteth on the throne, from the wrath of the Lamb, because they don't want to see the Lord. It's crazy, right? This idea of this Christian savior, this leper savior with blonde hair, blue eyes, and loves everybody, Why would they be scared? Their God's full of love, so why would they be scared? Right? Because the Lord is not on some, save the world attitude, man. He's coming to bring judgment to the world. Right? Yes, he's coming to save his elect, but that's really only a small part of the mission. Right? Because he's going to be doing more destroying than he's going to be saving. Right? But it starts off with the saving. Okay, he's saving his elect, and then the great judgment is going to ensue on the rest of the earth. All right, but again, you're going to be afraid of him. Okay, you're not going to want to come out and ask for a hug, right? You'll get smoked, right? So again, he said to the mountains and rocks, fall on us and hide us from the face of him that sitteth on the throne and from the wrath of the Lamb. For the great day of his wrath is come. Right? It's the day of wrath. Right? And it says, who shall be able to stand? Again, same as who shall be able to abide it? None. Right? No one's going to survive and, do what they think they're going to do by surviving. It's not going to work out that way. It's Jeremiah 15 verse 2. And so that shall come to pass, if they shall say to thee, whither shall we go forth? Then thou shalt tell them, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, such as are for death to death, and such as are for the sword to the sword, and such as are for the famine to the famine, and such as are for the captivity to the captivity. Right. So like I said, there's many ways that you can receive judgment. Wherever the Most High has allotted to individuals, that's what you're going to receive. But there isn't going to be no salvation. There isn't going to be no surviving per se. Because these people that doing all this prepping, they think they're gonna come out and there's gonna be some sort of continuance. We're just gonna build back better type mindsets. Or we're just gonna survive in this new post-apocalyptic world. It isn't gonna be that. Okay, you're gonna go to work. All right, but like I said, most I got a lot. If you deaf, then you're gonna die. It doesn't matter whether you put yourself on a spaceship, went to Mars. It doesn't matter. And most I gonna make sure you die, right? As I said, there's many ways to die. So whether it be by sword, whether it be by pestilence or famine or whatever, the Most High already has that, written out for you already, right? Unbeknownst to you, you don't know how you're gonna, go out, but the Most High already knows. Right? So everything that you're doing, you really ultimately do it in vain. But again, it says, as such as are for the captivity to the captivity. Some are going to be left alive just to serve captivity. I mean, you can take that as some sort of moral victory that you managed to survive until the end. Go you, innit? but like I said, you're going to be in chains, man. And at that point, I don't know if you're going to see that as a victory. It says, I will appoint over them 4 kinds, saith the Lord, the sword to slay, and the dogs to tear, and the fowls of the heaven, and the beasts of the earth to devour and destroy. This is all part of the day of the Lord. The Lord's going to be doing all of this stuff, and people are going to be going to want saving because it's going to be so terrible. But the Lord isn't here to save everybody, man. So your primary objective is just to survive. But like I said, that's not going to be for everybody, only to land up in chains. So and just is one more. Right, we'll close up with this. 2 Ezra chapter 15. Verse 5, right? It says, behold, saith the Lord Yahweh, I will bring plagues upon the world, the sword, famine, death, and destruction, right? And that's what the Lord is doing right now, right? But it's all gonna, build up to the ultimate destruction that's gonna happen in the land of America. Okay, but judgment is gonna be going out. Okay, going forth. So for wickedness have exceedingly polluted the whole earth, and their hurtful works are fulfilled. Therefore saith the Lord, I will hold my tongue no more as touching their wickedness, which they profanely commit, neither will I suffer them in those things in which they wickedly exercise themselves. Behold, the innocent and righteous blood crieth unto me, and the souls of the just complain continually. And therefore saith the Lord, I will surely avenge them, and receive unto me all the innocent blood from among them. Behold, my people is led as a flock to the slaughter. I will not suffer them now to dwell in the land of Egypt, but I will bring with a mighty hand and a stretched out arm and smite Egypt with plagues as before. Right? So as the Lord was bringing all these plagues upon Egypt, the people were suffering. Whether they be, highborn or lowborn, right? Born or free, like they were all suffering under the plagues of the Lord. Right? So again, like there was no escaping it. Right? It's the same on this side. When the Lord brings judgment, there's no one really going to escape. Like I say, you might flee to somewhere else, or think you put yourself in a safe space, but ultimately, the judgment will find you. Let's see, serpent. No, what are you doing? Yeah, Amos 5 and 18, right? It says, woe unto you that desire the day of the Lord. To what end is it for you? The day of the Lord is darkness and not light, right? As if a man did flee from a lion and a bear met him, right? So you might run from one thing just to end up in the hands of another thing, another situation. You might survive that, that encounter, but, fell to your death at the next encounter. You don't know, because, it's like, the Lord's kind of playing with a lot of people, man. He ain't just gonna give people quick death. You're gonna play with him like a cat and a mouse type thing, right? And this, you might go from one thing thinking, oh man, oh, you might even say it, thank God, you got away from a particular type of danger just to find yourself in another one, And so you might go for all these things to survive all of that just to go into slavery. And at the end of that, you might think it's some kind of cool joke. You survived all of this. All this madness that's going on earth. You might have survived all of that. And then you just end up going in chains anyway. It's a cool joke. Yeah, it's real. But that's the Most High, unless he sense of humor, man. Because you were never meant to make it. You just meant to make it to the chains, right? So as if a man did flee from a lion and a bear met him, or went into the house and leaned his hand on the wall and a serpent bit him. All right, so shall not the day of the Lord be darkness and not light, even very dark and no brightness in it? All right, so yeah, it's gonna be a dark time, man. And that's it. It's not something you can just run from. You can't escape it. Was I finished here? Yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted. All right. So yeah, like I said, this judgment's gonna come for everybody. There's no way to escape it. Okay, the Lord's got eyes everywhere, right? And the Lord, as I know exactly where you are, and wherever you be at, thinking that you're safe, you can be got. All right, whether you're rich or poor or whatever, man. All right, so I'm gonna end it there. Lord, this has been edifying, and I'll catch you brothers and sisters on the next video. Till next time, I say shalom.